question that came up in my yoga community from two of the fiercest yogis that I get to teach. They're both in their 70s, and you would never, ever guess it. It is amazing what they accomplish within their yoga practice day after day. But they both asked this question of me, and I think it's something that comes up for all of us no matter what age we are. So that's what we're going to chat about today. And the question is how do I continue to work to advance my yoga practice when sometimes fear comes up and I'm scared that if I go further, I'm going to hurt myself, and then I'm not going to be able to practice the yoga that I love so much. And I think it's such a valid question, and this has come up for me at 47 years of age, that through the years this has come up for me because I couldn't imagine my life without yoga, and protecting my body as I do other things outside of my yoga space and my yoga mat that might bring, some harm to my body. And what if that, ruined my teaching, or I couldn't show up for my students? So it comes up for me in hiking sometimes. There was a specific incident where I was hiking to the top of chimney tops in the Smoky Mountains, and I had to teach in 2 days. I am a very big hiker, and my husband and I hike often, but I froze because we were 20 feet from the top, and it was, not just your feet on the trail, but hands on the rocks as you're trying to get to the summit of this trail and this mountain. And I just completely froze because I thought, what if I hurt myself and I can't teach? But luckily there was a woman nearby that was like, it's not as bad as it looks, just keep going one step at a time, and you will make it up the mountain. And I absolutely did. And I'm so glad that she was there to say, you can do this. Because one of the reasons I practice yoga is so that I can enjoy the other activities that I love to do in my life for as long as I want to do them. And one of them is hiking, and going up these mountains is just something that's thrilling to me. And so I completely understand this feeling of, I'm going to stop my practice right here. I'm not going to move forward with this posture because if I do, I might hurt myself, and then I can't show up tomorrow for my practice. I get it, and I empathize with that so much. But there are so many things that we can do to make sure that you are injury-free. And the first thing I want to say to you is, instead of, letting the fear take over, is to use this mantra that I often use, and it is safe for me to go a little further. So when it comes to more advanced yoga postures, it's not about nailing the posture. It's about learning a little bit more about the posture every day, and through that education, learning more about yourself. And so use that. If you listen to none of the rest of this video, I hope that helps. But we are going to go through 8 ways that you can dissolve the fear around certain yoga postures and take them further, encouraging you to grow your yoga practice. So let's dig in. So the first thing that you can do is, just like as I already discussed, is start small to build your confidence. So if you've never done a crow pose before, putting your hands on the floor and asking your legs to fly up in the air is going to bring up some fear. So be very kind to yourself. Notice that your hands are on the floor, that you're starting to put some weight in it, and building confidence, learning more about it. Well, now I'm looking forward instead of looking at myself. Now I'm bringing my elbows over my wrists instead of, staying back on my feet. So my feet are starting to be lighter. And these are all steps that happen when people learn crow pose. And this is true for every single posture that you encounter within your yoga practice. We build it from the ground up, and that way it dissipates the fear, because you learn one step and then you learn the next step and then the next. And then this way, it's not about just charging forward into the posture. It's about learning just a little bit more every time you step on your yoga mat. And this is going to keep you safe. It is also going to help you dissolve your fear around certain postures like deeper back bends, inversions, and arm balances, as well as balancing poses. Like, let's be real, a lot of the postures in yoga, especially as we get older, start to bring up a lot of fear because we're working to achieve greater balance. Maybe on one leg, maybe it's, something like that, or we're working to gain more strength where we haven't had strength there before. So it's very normal to have fear. So start small and build your confidence bit by bit. That's the way I teach my yoga classes. So yoga teachers, listen up. If you're teaching advanced yoga, build your students' confidence. Start small and have steps. Like, this is where you start. This is where you progress. This is the next step. If you have that for them, they will trust you and begin to trust themselves within the postures. If you are a student, that's the way you build trust with yourself. So the second thing is to use props. Use props as an ally in your yoga practice. So use the blocks, use the strap, use a wall. There's nothing wrong with using these things. Now, when I first started practicing and teaching yoga, I came from a method of yoga that was like against props. And now that I have moved away from teaching that, I think of what a disservice it really is to not allow a beginning yoga student to use props, but also an advanced student. These are not just for beginners. This is not just, something that you're gonna use every once in a while. Use your props. So if you're scared of being, let's say, firefly pose, because you just can't get your feet off the floor, they just seem, married to the floor, you can't lift up in this arm balance, I'm going to give you blocks because it's going to create space so you get weight in your hands and the feet start to get a little floaty. And that's going to help you start building confidence. My whole thing with props is I say often to my students, they're for now, they're not for forever. They're a great tool to use to learn more about the practice and to gain confidence and to maybe help you dissipate the fear. But the deal is, if you start using a prop, one day I'm going to ask you, what I'm seeing in your body, you're not going to need to use that anymore. So use it as an ally in your practice instead of like I had to use a block. Who cares? You did the posture, you went through the practice. If a block helped you achieve better alignment in a posture, let's say you were in floating half moon and without that block you couldn't reach the floor or you couldn't get your two shoulders in alignment, I would much rather, as your yoga teacher, see you grab for that block and hit that posture and be able to hold it with confidence, gaining strength, balance, and flexibility. So remember that props are always available to you, and the more you use them, the more they'll just become something that you grab for when you know you need it. You need that strap for Birds of Paradise pose, grab a strap. It's no big deal. Do not put that limit on yourself that you are not a prop person. If it helps you, then use it. But just know that it's a tool to help you learn more about the posture, and eventually you'll be able to let that prop go. Next, we're getting into some nitty-gritty stuff here. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is reframing fear when it comes up as curiosity. So curiosity is the key to maintaining a lifelong yoga practice. If you are only practicing the same postures over and over again, of course, eventually those postures are going to create a comfort zone for you. So it is important that after you've established a solid foundation as a beginner, that you continue to develop your practice. Go to those intermediate classes, those advanced classes. That for me is what has kept me on my yoga mat for almost 20 years, is the fact that there's always more to learn. And so reframe that fear when it comes up as like, oh, this is fear. I can feel that I'm scared of this, but I'm curious for myself, what happens if I go just a little bit further? That curiosity is going to take you to places and spaces you never dreamed of within your yoga practice. For me, I never thought I would be someone that does headstands and forearm balances and handstands. That just wasn't for me, that was for other people who were a little bit shorter than me, because being tall and doing inversions brings up a lot of fear. But you know, you can reframe that. And I thought to myself one day, what if I did do those postures? Who would I be if I was someone that could do some of this stuff in the middle of the room, away from the wall? And that curiosity has really fueled my inversion practice, just a tiny small sect of, you know, what I practice every day. And it really will open up your whole life. So feel the fear, acknowledge that fear is there, and then ask yourself, what if I just try this? What if I just do a little bit of it? What if I did that first step? What if I took that first step that I learned the other day and now I add this second step? It's all there for you and available to you. Curiosity is the key to really fueling and developing a lifelong yoga practice. Now, the fourth way to deal with fear in your yoga practice as you age is to focus on how it feels instead of how it looks. Now, I know in today's society where we're always filming everything, and I do it too, I film my yoga practice often because it teaches me different things about what is happening for my yoga practice and how I can improve, as well as sharing it with you on social media platforms and YouTube, right? So it has become a very normal thing to film your yoga practice. Back when I started practicing in 2005, that was very odd to even take a picture of your yoga practice. Now, because we've become such a visual society, we have become very visual as to what our yoga practice looks like. And if you focus more on how it feels, it's going to open you up to a whole new level of satisfaction within your yoga practice, as well as letting the fear go. It's not always going to be pretty yoga. It's not always going to be that pretty posture. Yoga does, come along with yoga fumbles that happen sometimes, where you fall out of a posture, or, where things are just not lining up for you on any given day. So instead, focus on the energy that it supplies you. How does the posture feel? Not how does it look. Does it feel empowering to go into a headstand? Heck yes, it does. So if it feels really, empowering to just learn step one of headstand and learning how to do beginner headstand, the way I teach it is your knees stay into your chest, you do not extend the legs, and you float there with your knees into your chest. And if you focus on how that empowers you, once you find that, then you're going to want to go to that next step and the next step as well. So focus on how it feels and discard how it looks, especially if fear is showing up in your yoga practice. Now, this next one is a big one. What is the rush? Number 5 is take your time. What are you rushing into within this practice? It is not a checklist of yoga postures or asanas that you need to check off. I've accomplished this. If that is the way you're thinking about your practice, you are missing the point. And it is not going to be a lifelong experience for you. It's going to be something of a list of accomplishments, and then you move on, and then maybe you go, do Zumba for, another couple of months, and then you move on to another workout routine. And though for me, yoga is way more than a workout, it is the way that I stay physically fit, and it is an excellent way, especially 40s and beyond, to maintain your health and wellness. It is excellent. It gets you through all of the gunk of what it is to be a midlife woman and beyond. And it really helps you maintain your mobility, flexibility, and strength as you age in a fun way. For me, lifting weights at a gym is not fun, but doing an arm balance or an inversion certainly is. And so that has helped me maintain my strength. But this is the thing, if you are just rushing to accomplish a certain posture, it's not going to mean anything. Allow your practice to take some time. Allow the 6 years to learn a handstand. Did you know that the average time that it takes someone from the ground up to build a handstand is 6 years? And now that can either inspire you to keep going or know that it takes a while, or it can deflate you because you're someone that likes that instant gratification. And that is not what yoga is about. I promise you, if you take your time and quit rushing, there will be less fear in your yoga practice. And so slow the heck down. No one expects you to fly in an arm balance the first time you take an intermediate yoga class. I certainly do not expect that when someone shows up to my intermediate and advanced classes, because that is what I teach, is that next level of yoga. And so what I expect is, this is what I expect. I expect that you know yoga is good for you. I expect that you've taken beginner level classes enough that you know like what Warrior 2, Warrior 3 are, some basic things, and the rest is going to fall into place. If you find yourself with the confidence to get into an intermediate or advanced class to see what it is, just be gentle with yourself and be inspired by the other people in the class and what they've accomplished, because they started just like you did. So take your time. There's no rush. Some students pop right into an arm balance, an inversion, or a deep back bend on their first couple of weeks of working with me. And then other people take their time. I've had some students that, it took 3 years for them to find headstand away from the wall in the middle of the room. But do you know what? Do you know how proud they are of that headstand? Do you know what self-esteem and confidence that it built in them to work from someone that couldn't do it, that could do it? There's no time limit on any of this. And so get rid of that thought when it comes to your yoga goals, is that you have to be somewhere at a certain time. It's all going to unfold exactly the way it should, right on time for you. Now with this one, we're really going to get into the meat of it, because I'm going to talk about the fact that you are going to fall in your yoga practice. It is going to happen. You're going to be on one leg, and then all of a sudden you're going to fall to the side, or you're going to be in an arm balance, and all of a sudden you're going to fall back or to the side, or maybe even forward, and you are going to be okay. Falling, or like an inversion, oh my goodness, so many people are so scared to take their inversions away from the wall because of the fear of falling. But this is the thing, your body is going to protect your brain. It is going to be a very odd event if you actually did fall on your head in a yoga posture. You're going to fall in a different way, and there is a power in learning how to fall and getting back up afterwards. I have fallen many times in my yoga practice, and it has not hindered me from getting up. And there was one fall I had, it was horrific. It felt like a car accident. And I'm going to share this with you. But I was doing handstand, a chest to wall handstand, and I even to this day really don't know what happened, but my shoulder just couldn't support what I was doing at the time, and it kicked me out of it. I did not fall on my head, but I had a big fall. And I came out of my yoga space, and I was sitting on my stairs in my home, and I just, like that adrenaline rush of like a bad fall. But everything was fine. I'm touching myself, everything was fine. And my husband was home, he was like, oh my God, are you okay? Because he heard the fall. I did. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But you know what? I need to go back in there and I need to do it again. And I did. I immediately went in, did it to prove to myself that I am okay and that I don't need to build fear around that particular part of my practice. And so more than likely, if you have a spill in yoga, it is not going to result in an injury. I certainly, my community, we practice intermediate and advanced yoga, and I do we are injury-free. Let me knock on some kind of wood. We have been injury-free for the last 5 years because the expectation is you take your time, you don't pull into anything, that you work with your fear, you notice when it pops up, you do not charge into your fear, you are curious about why it's bringing it up, and because we work in this way, we're injury-free because it's not about when you get there. It's, but a fall does happen, and then you get back up and you do it again, and that is going to empower you in your practice, because then falls don't mean so much. They're not that heavy. It's just a spill. It's usually you fall on your seat. It's not a big deal. So know that if you're doing something that is just bringing up so much fear, like let's say it's the first time you've done a headstand and your heart is racing, slow down, walk your feet in, bring one knee to your chest, bring the other knee to your chest. And let's say you bring both knees to your chest and you're in that half headstand that I mentioned earlier. You're probably on a wall. Now, the first time you do this away from the wall, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to somersault out of it. That's the worst of it. So the more you fall, the more you learn how to fall as well. And if you are sincerely just tipping your toe into the waters of something that's fresh for you, that next step of a yoga posture, more than likely it will be a very gentle fall. All right, so know that falls are part of it. And you are more than likely going to be okay. You are going to be okay. I can't say that for every yoga situation because I don't know who you practice with or if you're practicing on your own. But you should always feel safe and encouraged in any yoga space that you inhabit. If you feel threatened or that there is a time limit to, like, you must get up in this today, you're in the wrong yoga spot. There's so much yoga out there. Go find a yoga spot where you feel encouraged to continue to improve your practice instead of, you pushed into it. You should never feel like you're being pushed into something you're not ready for. Number 7, all right, so number 7 is surround yourself with support. So if you show up to an intermediate or advanced class and it's all these young, very young 20s, and it's, it just doesn't feel like your community, then that's okay. Be in there's other different yoga spaces. My yoga space is for women over 40, so 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s is what I have in my my online yoga studio. And I have framed it as that because that's when I really believe you're ready to advance your yoga practice. 20s and 30s, you're just, getting your feet underneath you and understanding the mechanics of your body. It's just the way I've experienced yoga over the last 20 years and the yoga of my students. And so I think that you're ready when you're in your 40s to move into something a little bit more empowering. So surround yourself with a group of yogis that support you. I know for our community that if you hit a posture that you've never hit before, expect that not only am I going to be cheering for you, but there's going to be other women clapping in the online studio. There's going to be other women writing you comments and congratulating you, where you feel like what you're doing matters, because it honestly does. For me, I wish more and more people would do yoga because everything would just be better in this world if more people did yoga. And so know that there are so many beautiful communities out there that will support you as you move forward with your yoga practice. And if you are in a space where you do not feel supported to move forward, then take that as a sign that it's time to move on, that there's other communities out there, and that, have gratitude for the space that you were in with, the community that you're currently in, and then search for that community that is going to bolster up your practice and help you work for just a little bit more. And know that when you're surrounded with people that are also working on similar goals within their yoga practice and within their lives, that it will just spur you on to keep your yoga practice going, which honestly is the hardest part of yoga. And number 8, the final way to deal with fear in your yoga practice as you age is very simple. Remember why you showed up on your yoga mat. Why are you there? Set your intention for the practice. Maybe you're there because you just want to have peace of mind or good energy for the rest of the day. Then why does it matter if you hit a certain posture or not? It doesn't on any given day. There are some days that you're going to be amazing in your yoga practice, and there are other days where it's not going to be so easy, and that is totally okay. Have a reason for why you show up for your yoga and let that inspire your practice instead of leaning into the fear that certain postures might bring up for you. And so if you really lean in to your reason for practicing, I promise you, it will help you dissipate the fear. It just will, because, let's say you're in wheel pose, and I'm asking you go down to your forearms so that you're in a Viparita Dandasana or forearm wheel. That brings up a lot of fear for a lot of people. So remember, if your intention was, I just want to feel really good and positive about myself today, and the fear is starting to come up as you move into Viparita Dandasana, for me, a big deal for me is when you go from wheel to lifting a hand up in wheel and starting to walk it in, that's a breakthrough. So maybe that's what happens for you today. Then you should be really excited about that. Or maybe you just decide, you know what, that's not my intention today, is to find Viparita Dandasana, and so I'm going to stay in this very positive for me wheel pose, and that's cool too. So remember why you're there, and that will help you weigh whether or not you need to move forward with certain postures or stay where you are at a certain step. It will help break it down. Your why is very important for your practice, so always hold it close to you. And your why can change from day to day. For me, my big why is I love to hike. Like I said, my husband and I, that is what we love to do, is go find a mountain and climb all the way to the top of it. And so I want to be able to do that with him when I'm at 80. So I practice because of my joy for another activity. And it has really, lit up my life. Plus, I know I'm a better person if I show up for my yoga practice, and I'm probably a better roommate with my husband as well. And so it's better for all the people in my life if I practice. And so that is part of my why. So get very clear on why you show up for your yoga practice, whether it's to heal up from an injury. That's a big reason why a lot of people show up. Keep your mobility, gain strength. Be kind to others, have more energy. What is your why? And allow that to light up your practice instead of pulling into the fear of what certain postures may or may not end up being for you in any given day. So some final thoughts here for you. And if you made it all the way through this video, I think you're so super cool, and I'm so glad that we are connected in this space, and I hope that this has served you well in many, many ways. Please remember this final thought. Fear isn't about failing. It means you're growing. So when you are taking on a certain yoga posture and you're coming to a point that is bringing up fear, that is the point where you are growing from. You have just gotten to a point where you are no longer in your comfort zone. You're no longer doing the 20 postures in the beginning class that you did. You're doing something new. So notice the fear and notice that means you're growing. You're trying something new, that it's lighting up your mind, that it's lighting up your life, and healing up your body in many ways. And if you stick with that thought, then you'll it's just such a better way of reframing fear, that it's courageous. It's courageous to continue to keep growing. And so you'll build your courage with your yoga practice. So if you enjoyed all of these points, I hope that it inspires you to get on your yoga mat and maybe try a class that's always scared you, or work on a posture that you think is not for you. They're all for you. You can do all of these things, but you do have to shrink them down to bite-sized pieces so that fear doesn't stop you from moving forward with your practice. Whether you're in your 40s like me, your 50s, your 60s, or like the ladies I was telling you about at the beginning of this that are in their 70s and crushing it. So know that there is no age limit for an advanced yoga practice. If you want to achieve certain postures, then you can do it. Just make sure you find the time and space and the community to do it with. And if the Tori G online yoga studio speaks to you, if you're a woman over 40 and would love to take on a more advanced yoga practice where you have classes that will challenge you and bring up new postures for you daily, then come join me over there. Not only do you have 4 to 5 live stream classes you can take every week and a huge on-demand library of classes that are there for you whenever you need it. But in this space, it's different because you have one-to-one sessions with me built into your membership. So it's not an extra fee, it's not anything. I am a teacher and I like to know my students and assist you in ways that will help you grow your yoga practice and grow your life from the yoga mat and beyond, so that you can really embrace everything that life has in store for you. Not just, by accomplishing certain postures that you never thought were possible for you, you will start looking around at other facets of your life and ask yourself, where else am I holding myself back? And it just really starts to light up your entire life. We have an incredible community of women that are so super supportive of each other, and we would love to have you there as well. And yoga teachers, there is yoga teacher mentorship built into that as well, and yoga education hours as well. If you come and join the studio, we do have quite a few teachers that practice there to develop their own yoga practice and bring new thoughts to their communities as well. So come join me over there. You can find all the information at www.torig.yoga. You can find all of the information below as well. You can start with a trial membership. It's only $49, and right off the bat, you and I get a one-to-one session, and it's a full month of just awesome yoga. So if you're looking for a new space to, dive into new facets and, fresh postures, new facets of your practice and fresh postures, then come join me over there. I'm looking forward to sharing in a good yoga practice with you soon. I'm Tori G. It's been a pleasure to chat with you today. Have a great one.